Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie. Welcome if this is your first week tuning in. Each week I bring you a forecast for the coming week to just give us a little bit of a jump start on what energy is coming our way. So I specialize in Akashic Records readings, and each week while I am working in those records, I get some keywords that will give us some guidance on what is coming up in the energy. So this week we will talk about our 3 Akashic Keywords. We will get some crystal energy from our Healing Crystals deck number 6 Oracle cards. We will get, we have a full moon in Leo coming up on Sunday the 5th, so the first day of this week, first day of this video, first day of this guidance. We have a full moon in Leo. So we will use the full moon and Leo card from this Moonology Oracle card deck. And then for the remainder of the week, we are going to use this Intuitive Soul Oracle cards deck for the rest of our week. So let's get started just talking a little bit about the 3 keywords that came out this week. I am being prompted to mention that it may be helpful if you have not watched last week's video to go back and watch that one. The previous week's video is always linked to the end of the one you're watching. So if you're looking at things chronologically, and sometimes I feel like things are, better to watch chronologically, they're going to happen sort of in a specific order for most people. And, none of the guidance given in a collective reading is always going to apply to everyone. But you can pick and choose what works for you and apply that in the way that it guides you best. Because these are collective readings. So not every single bit of information is going to resonate for every single person every week, but I'm hopeful that it helps the most people that it can on a consistent basis. So that's the goal here. But I always link the previous weeks in case you want to go back and say, oh, that did happen. So this is how I need to kind of course correct and prepare for the following week, given the energy that's coming out. So, I am kind of getting prompted that it may be beneficial to go back and look at last week's video if you didn't watch that. Maybe something about the 3 keywords or one of the card energies might be very beneficial or resonant for you. So this week, our Akashic keywords are pretty straightforward, pretty literal. Sometimes they require some interpretation, but this week I got reactionary, experimentation, and recognition. Excuse me. So I actually, when I was channeling these, I got kind of corrected about the order they're supposed to go in. So that's what makes me think these are a little more chronological this week, that the things may pop up into your awareness a little more as the week progresses. So I got reactionary, and then I was told to switch recognition to the 2nd spot and experimentation to the 3rd spot. So reactionary, recognition, experimentation. If you see me looking this way a lot in these videos, it's because I always have my notes about the Akashic keywords kind of on this side of my screen. So, and that's how I noticed that I had a little arrow saying no, put recognition second. So what this said to me when I asked for clarification or some expanded guidance on this is that reactionary is really from Sunday through Tuesday this week. Again, this is a collective reading. It may not pop up for you, but this is about being aware that others may be more reactionary, may react more strongly to things. I think this is very tied to the energy of the full moon in Leo. If you tune in regularly, you know that I am not an astrologist at all. But just in general, full moons are a time of heightened emotions for many people. And those who are not maybe in tune with that or not aware of it, not very self-aware, it can really kind of just take flight into the collective. So knowing that some people are not going to be aware of what's going on, but may be more reactionary than usual could be something helpful to keep in mind. And also that you yourself may be more reactionary than usual. So if something rubs you wrong, if you're making assumptions about things, if you are filling in the blanks and you really shouldn't be, it may be from a place of reaction rather than observation. So just keeping that in mind this week, knowing that as the collective may be more reactionary, emotions may be heightened, but also you may feel that and go back into observer mode instead, so that you can best plan your way forward. And so that brings us to our second keyword, which is recognition. And that is basically just recognition of those reactions. Are you having sort of knee-jerk reactions to things? Are you kind of going back into old patterns that you are aware of now and that you can recognize for what they are? They're just past patterns, past emotional knee-jerk reactions to things. We don't need them anymore. We can go into observer mode and move forward very rationally this week. We don't have to get swept up in this energy. And again, I know very little of astrology or the sign Leo at all, but I know it's a lion, which is kind of a roaring energy to me. So, if things feel a little aggressive or fast moving, or you just want to kind of rein things in and slow down this week, do that. Recognize that that's what you're needing in order to not be reactionary, in order to go into observer mode and be in a place of rational, intentional action. So just grounding yourself and recognizing behaviors that might pop up. And again, recognizing that these might be popping up in others. And then experimentation is where some fun energy comes in. And this is more toward the end of the week was what I was getting, that these are a bit chronological this week. So we're going to be watching a lot for that reactionary energy Sunday through Tuesday. At the same time, recognizing it, but really going into that sort of energy of recognition Wednesday, Thursday, and then more toward the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, as we really move out of that full moon heightened energy, we're going into experimentation. And this is kind of a fun energy is what I was getting. It's like, oh, I saw the juxtaposition of this. I saw the knee-jerk reactions, and I was able to avert those because of my self-awareness, because I recognized them, because I came from a space of being intentional and grounded and centered and not being reactionary, not going into those spaces of just talking and then having to apologize, or assuming and then having to course correct. We're really being in the energy of intention this week. So experimentation is the energy of, ooh, what now? Like, I was able to make it through this. This felt really good. I was able to implement some of these things I've worked on. I was able to see these things that I've kind of put into my future and I'm actually living now. So what now? What can I experiment with? How can I experiment with my ways of being to allow the expression of these things that feel good to me? So reactionary, recognition, and experimentation this week. And now let's talk about our crystal guidance, which is charoite. I feel like this one might have come out the last time I used this deck. I assure you, I shuffled, reshuffled, and shuffled some more. So we are getting the charoite energy again. It seems very appropriate for this week. It connects the third eye and the crown, or connects us to the third eye and the crown, and is really supportive of those kind of higher energies about blending intellect and intuition, which I think came up last week as well. So the three keywords for charoite are transformation, acceptance, and insight. Transformation, acceptance, and insight. And the mantra or affirmation you can use when working with this crystal is I am present. So that's how you're really going to avert being reactionary, right? Is by being present. This has come up a lot lately. Like, I am here now. I am present. So that's how you avoid or avert being reactionary. That's how you sink into the energy of recognition, is being present. So I am present this week through this full moon in Leo energy. So then Sunday, our first card of the week, I did go ahead and draw the full moon in Leo card, and it says, don't let pride get in your way. So I'll just read a little snippet from the guidebook here. So it says, attune to the moon, be magnificent without being too much. And so I think, to me, that speaks to the reactionary energy. Like, don't let it kind of stay in your magnificence, stay in your perfection, stay in your what you've worked so much on, stay in your self-awareness, and without going into reactionary mode, which is kind of that overload. It says, when the full moon comes into Leo, it can be a wonderfully bright time where people feel more confident to show the world their talents and assets. That's the upside of this lunation and this card. However, take note that the Leo full moon combination creates a sort of tension between your needs and the needs of people in your networks. So that would be the collective for many of us. Leo full moon is a time to release pride. So, I mean, to me, it speaks to the fact that that's a good way to sort of release pride and release ego, is not to be reactionary, to sink into ourselves and really get to that point of recognition of, you know, what we want to see in ourselves, because we mirror that to others and it reflects back to us. So let's go ahead and talk about our cards for the week. Monday, we have the Now card. So this is interesting. I am present, I am here now, and the Now card comes up for Monday. So Now says present, in moment, and time to live. So, but this also gives me very much an energy of kind of being grounded and centered and being in that energy of being here now. That's how we avoid being reactionary, be here now. So I love that this comes out for Monday. Tuesday, we have the Choice card. And so this card always, when it comes up in private readings or when I use this deck for myself, it's always kind of like, what are you watering? Like, what thoughts are you watering? What are you growing? How are you tending to your garden? You know, your thoughts are kind of what you are growing, and what you give your attention to, what you water is what you are going to get more of. So that's recognition of what we want to create more of. So the Choice card says, looking at the options, growth, learning, new beginnings, and decisions to make. So recognizing that we are still in that energy, Sunday through Tuesday, of kind of being hyper aware of being reactionary and maybe anticipating that coming at us from others, and just kind of letting go of that and being very cognizant of the choices we make when dealing with others. Wednesday, we have the Plan card, which says making plans, seeing the future, making changes. So this is when, or I'm sorry, am I on? Yeah, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yes, Wednesday. The week is getting ahead of me, and we haven't even started it yet. So the Plan card says making plans, seeing the future, making changes. But this is also when I was saying, I feel like we're in that kind of reactionary energy Sunday through Tuesday. So this is interesting that this card comes out for Wednesday, when I was getting that we are kind of moving out of that energy. And it's when we're going to start seeing what we're moving into, seeing the future, and making some changes, making plans or formulating a plan for how we're moving forward. And this doesn't have to be a grand plan that's going to, like, you know, see us through the rest of our days. It can be that day. What is our plan for that day? What is our, you know, if you have felt overwhelmed by the full moon energy, plan your Wednesday. That's all. You don't have to look too far ahead. Thursday, we have the Journey card, and it says crossroads, forward thinking, and time to move on. And so I would say with time to move on, it's also just time to move forward, given that it comes on the heels of this Plan card. It doesn't, again, have to be a grand 10-year plan or a lifetime plan or anything. It's just kind of what's going to take us one step down this path. What's our forward movement for this week? Friday, what does that lead us to? Friday, it leads us, this is perfect the way this is unfolding, because I said Friday and Saturday, that kind of gets us into that fun energy of experimentation. Well, you know, what is fun? What is experimentation? It's freedom. So soul freedom, being yourself, releasing ties from the past, setting yourself free. So I like that this comes out just exactly kind of matches the energy I was getting from the Akashic records of Thursday or Friday and Saturday, moving into kind of a new, freer energy. And then Saturday, this is interesting. Saturday, we have the Surrender card. So again, Friday and Saturday kind of moving us into a new energy. It says release, change, focus. So that's interesting, right? Release and change, but also focus. So it's that energy of recognition, of really being grounded, of letting things go, but also dialing in. So release, change, focus, turning things around, ending of eras, and inner knowledge. So this is very much about being aligned with our truth, with that inner knowledge, that self-awareness that avoids being reactionary, knowing that we're not doing that anymore, that's the ending of an era, and kind of turning things around, recognizing, and then moving into that energy of expansion, of experimentation, of freedom through surrender. So then I have 2 more cards here. This is one of the few decks I have that has just a yes and a no card. And I think I did this one other time. And I got some private messages and some comments on that video that people liked it. So I drew the yes and the no card again. I've got them in my hands. And I'm going to go ahead and remove these cards just so it doesn't get distracting. And I'm going to place these cards here. One is the yes card, one is the no card. So I want you, if you want to do this, it's fine. If you don't have a question or anything that you're wondering about, then I will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed the guidance. But if you have something that's been on your mind, a question you've had, an issue you've been pondering, something that can be distilled down to a yes or no question, I want you to focus on that now. Just kind of get that in your head, in your mind. You can pause this if you need to really formulate your question the way you want to, and just focus on it intentionally while I shuffle these back and forth. And then I will place these facing me right here. And with your question in mind, intentionally focusing on your question. Get this in there. Just use your intuition to choose one of these cards. First one that comes to mind. Don't overthink it. What's your intuition tell you? Which one are you guided to based on your question? And when I flip these around, that will be the guidance you're receiving about your question. So go with the first one. If you chose this card, it is a no. And the no card says, is the answer, no is the answer to the question that you are seeking. I would note that this is the number 44 card too, which is my lucky number and sort of a synchronicitous number for many people. So I guess, you know, by default, you all, people who chose this one, know that this is the yes card. And it says the same thing. Yes is the answer to the question that you are seeking. So if you had a question, I hope that's helpful. And then kind of go back through the guidance from this week and see how this applies now that you know the answer to your question. So I hope you enjoyed this week's guidance and enjoy the full moon energy, being aware and recognizing how things are flowing in for you and what things feel like, and really kind of sitting like that so that you are able to move into that lighter energy on Friday and Saturday. And I will see you next week.